Hello everyone, I'm Brian, welcome back, let's go ahead and continue.
Are you getting it? We do not want to repeat history. In history, nations have never been founded on the right basis. And therefore, those who could understand life, like we said Tagore, had to reject nationalism. They said nationalism is the worst kind of toxicity. Let's not reject nationalism per se. Let's just say, let there be an all-embracing nationalism. Let there be a unifying nationalism. Let there be an enlightened nationalism. Let there be a nationalism that is not founded with the object to inflict suffering on the other. You can inflict suffering on the other only if you do not see that you and the other are the one. The moment you start seeing the underlying oneness, it becomes impossible to inflict suffering on the other. Right? Can we as Indians come together on this noble basis? And that would be the real Bharat. India cannot be about geographical frontiers, a location on the world map. India is just too big to be contained on a world map. India is just too transcendental to be marked as a piece of earth. Who is an Indian? An Indian is someone who understands the very basis of life. The one who sees that you are born to be liberated. Only such a fellow deserves to be called an Indian. Because India, not the political country India, I'm talking of the real India, I'm talking of the very concept of Bharat. The real India is founded on understanding, realization, bodh. We want to understand. India is the place where the urge to understand hit the human for the first time. India is the cradle of religion itself. And true religiosity is about understanding life and therefore getting liberated from its bondages. That's who an Indian is, who wants to understand what this thing called the self is, what is meant by relationships, who am I, who's the other one, what is this thing called life, why am I alive, what is death. Only someone who is conscious enough, keen enough, and courageous enough to go into these questions deserves to be called an Indian. And that's the kind of nationalism we need. A nationalism founded on understanding. From where I am looking, 140 crore people do not deserve to be called as Bharatiya. They may continue to hold the Indian passport, that's a separate matter. But when it comes to being Indian nationals, well, that's a very elite thing. That's a thing that requires a lot of qualification. Being a citizen is another matter. Desh and Rashtra are not the same. So when you say that you want to invoke nationalism in young people, you must know what is it that you want to educate them in. Kindly do not indoctrinate them in some sectarian or divisive ideology. That's not nationalism. Real nationalism takes you within, and only that kind of nationalism is deserving enough to survive. Otherwise, the world has seen the perils of blind and violent nationalism for good. Are you getting it?
Acharya, I have a follow-up question on this. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are.
Acharya, in one of your session, one of the seeker asked ki we are the proponent of Vasudev Kutumbakam. And on that, you mentioned ki first to talk about such a big idea, we need to know pehle ghar pe we have to take him care of. Now when we're talking about such ideas that need to be spread all across the globe, but we see that students or in general the educated class or are not interested or not reading or not paying the amount of energy towards it. We are seeing that they are moving towards the ideologies that are not ours. So how do we deal with this? We want to spread this idea, but if the other side is not that much interested, or if that side is not that much given awareness to that side, how should we tackle it?
So I think I understand what he's talking about. Even within the idea of the United States, it looks false. And I think this plays more into the women, though. More so, because the men have always been going to work, because that's what they've been doing throughout entirety of history. You know, generally the manual laborers and all that, just doing work outside the house. And now I think women today, they've been given, you could say, in a sense, they've been given their freedoms. It's just that, you know, jobs have become much safer. You know, I remember reading in the history book of children going to work. And when I say children, it's usually sons, and them dying a lot in factories and stuff because it was still very unsafe. There's still a lot of manual labor. There's a lot of tight spaces. And generally, women work there too, not in the factories, but you know, in other, you know, if you look at any of the old movies, they work in like diners. You know, a lot of the much safer environment, a lot of the easier jobs, not so much manual labor, but you know, then whenever you have, anyways, so the idea is sold to a lot of the women in the West that they can have their cake and eat it too. I'm doing the quote because it's the phrase, meaning that they can go out and become a CEO, have a family life, and all these things. But they fail to realize that to get really high up in corporate business or to have a family life, you need dedication to one or the other. If you try to do both, you'll fail in either one or both. You'll either fail as a family person and be a terrible mother and be successful at your job, or you'll fail at your job, but you could be a pretty decent mother because you're trying to do both at the same time. You only have so many hours in a day. This is the reason why kind of in kind of the past sense, the father's the one that's always been going out to work. So anyways, and also this kind of proves what Sadhguru was talking about, how a lot of people in America are using drugs now, like antidepressants, and majority of the antidepressant pills are taken by women. I gotta fact check all of that though, but that is and another thing that kind of solidifies that, you could say, is I believe there's, during the red pill community, there's this talk about investors put their money into a research group to say what do they need to invest in, and they come to find out as single women, because the single women number is growing in the United States. Again, all fact check all of that, but it's not hard to see because there's a lot of social issues in America, and it's all through the development. Oddly enough, you think it would be something great and good, but if not done correctly, it's kind of terrible. And I think that's what he's kind of talking about right here a little bit. Whereas they're losing a little bit of their original culture, kind of like America, even though America is very, very young, which I guess is the culture of religion, Christianity. It kind of followed through. Whereas this one, talking about, I can't say exactly, but just a lot of the traditions in Indian culture. Now India is becoming a bit more westernized, even though it's I don't think it's westernized, honestly. It's just being industrial, and this just happens to be it. They call it westernized, I believe, because it so happens to happen at the West first, but it's not a Western thing. It's just when you become industrial, this happens to be the consequences of it. But call it westernized if you want, or just for me, I believe it's in industry being modernized, I suppose. And I guess I see that the Indian values being lost through that, and it's kind of lost in America as well in terms of the Christianic values, which it's not necessarily bad, but you lose too much of the good things and it becomes bad.
I don't think it's very difficult to bring this simple thing out to the other person, provided if, first of all, you as the spreader understand it. Why am I saying that? Because internally we are all one in terms of our disquiet, misery, suffering. Does not matter who the other person is. He suffers just as you do. And all human activity is some kind of an effort, conscious or unconscious, to get rid of one's suffering. Why will the other not listen if you can show him a way out of his suffering? He is trying to somehow gain peace and fulfillment in his own way. Can you display to him a plausible way to attain peace? Can you diagnose him correctly? But that will not be possible if you approach the other with a fixed set of thoughts of your own. To be able to look at the other, you have to be impartial. You cannot say the other is the other and is therefore despicable. He does not listen, he does not pay attention, he is violent, he is fallen. If you approach the other with such thoughts, then it will be very difficult to see the other's reality. And if you will not be able to see his reality, how will you be able to help him? And if you fail in providing help, why will he agree that your path is suitable for him as well? We all are in need of help, are we not? And because we do not see where to get help from, we keep trying crazily in our own distorted ways. We do not understand why we are not restful. We do not understand what is wrong with life. Why do we get angry? Why do we get anxious? And this is the story of entire mankind, right? We do not understand that, and therefore we try out all kinds of shallow and rather counterproductive solutions. That's what everybody is doing. So if you can display to a human being who he is and why he suffers, he is bound to listen to you. irrespective of where he comes from, what his religion is, what his age or gender is, what his economic status is, his ultimate objective is fulfillment, joy, peace, is it not? So if you can bring him closer to his objective, he will listen to you. If the youngsters of today are not listening to your advice, it is probably because we do not understand the youngsters. We do not see where they are coming from and what they are trying and where they want to reach. Their ways appear to us different from ours. So we treat them as the other. Sometimes we want to treat them even as aliens. But they are human beings, right? And they want the same thing as each of us does. Is there anybody in the world who does not feel thirsty? Could be an African, could be an American, a Christian, a Buddhist, a man, a woman. We all need water, right? That's what. We all need water. Irrespective of what the color of our skin is and what the color of our ideology is. We all need water. And that is the reason why I am trying to bring Vedanta to the masses. Water is possible. And a nation that does not divide is possible. A nation that is good for all is possible. And remember, you cannot have goodness in isolation. You cannot have the welfare of one people at the cost of the other people. It is the law of existence. When we will rise together. If you find the people rising by subjugating somebody else, then you are not seeing clearly. If you really have to do well for yourself, that cannot happen at the cost of others. It's not a zero-sum game. You cannot colonize a country as the colonizers of the last few centuries did and hope that the result will be great for you. Don't we know that the Second World War was fought because the great colonial powers were competing among themselves? Don't we know that? In fact, it was an urge to have more and more colonies that brought these European powers face to face. Britain had the early mover advantage and had colonized much of Asia, and France too had colonies, and Germany just didn't like that. So when you look at the bigger picture, you realize that if you exploit someone, it's not just the so-called other that suffers. The exploiter will soon discover that he too is the exploited one. We believe in duality. We lead dualistic lives. We behave as if by hurting the other we can benefit and prosper. That does not happen. We need a non-dualistic nationalism. Non-dualistic, advaitic. Therefore, the greatest philosophy that looks inwards is Advaita Vedanta.
namaste Acharya ji, and good evening to all of you.
Oh, real quick, let me try to make a comment on that. If I have any, honestly, I thought I did. Well, anyways, World War One was in fact that, I believe. Each, at least from what I've heard, this is what I've heard, that each of the powers were growing their military strength, eager to test it out in some way. But then, of course, I guess jealousy. You could say even if you don't, even if you expand your colonies to other areas that are not, there's no people in it, but the sheer fact that, hey, they're expanding and I don't like that. They're doing something that we can't, or we can't do, or that we haven't done. Don't like that. It's just, it goes to the root of what it's saying about the other. They're doing something that we're not. They are other. So it's not necessarily that you have to enslave anyone necessarily, but again, going to the root of what he says is just the fact that when you do something that's different from another person, you see them as other, and because they're not united, and they're in a lot of sense competition. I don't know the history of Germany versus British. I know French and English had, and English and Spain did, because Spain, I believe, had like a very big armada, boat armada, and then the English with their tiny boats defeated them. And I think that's the last time Spain kind of rose. Spain was very much going out and colonize. Well, I won't say colonizing, but from my understanding, is they kind of colonized, but they just took everything. They took from the land, like in a lot of places that they went to. Whereas English wasn't necessarily that way. Not all the time, obviously. United States, I mean, they colonized it, but at the same time they were working in tandem, and then because of the war, they were trying to tax the crap out of the people in the colonies. So try to extract money from them because of the war. I think with France or something like that. But anyways, but yeah, nonetheless, it goes back to the core what it's saying about the other. What if that always exists, conflict will always arise.
So, my name is Praveen Sharma. I am currently in final year of PGDRM program. And sir, basically my question is that if we look the current scenario, how the AI tools like ChatGPT will board someone helping the student basically who are in UG, are in PG also, or even in B school. So they are taking help from the AI tools and making their work easier. So is it becoming a barrier or uh, hinder our creativity basically? And the question is that is it someone who's trying to intentionally making the AI tools to uh, to limit the creativity of the people? Is it some entrepreneurs who's doing this intentionally? And if yes, then how can we prevent from this? And how can maintain our creativity in our daily routine life?
I would say they're not hindering at all. You can use it to help your own creativity out. Like, there's a lot of people who have writer's block. I don't know if they call it drawer's block either, where you draw and you just can't think of something to draw. I know writer's block is a very popular term. So you can use ChatGPT or these AI programs to help you. Now, I thought the question might have swung to the way of, is it replacing us or making us more dumb? Because he's saying that in some of I don't know if he said tests specifically, but they're using the AI to help them with their work. So I don't know if he means like going to college, going to university, or getting a job application. If you use that, I guess maybe jobs will be more willing to accept it. But that would mean that your creativity is lacking. Why can't I say that word? And if so long as the job is willing to accept your creativity, then you got the job. But if they see that you're having to use ChatGPT as a crutch or as a way of doing your job, and that's the only way you can do your job, you might get fired. If you're using ChatGPT as a way to excel your job, to make you better, but not using it as to do your job, that could be a different story.
No, nobody is hatching a conspiracy to turn you uncreative.
Yeah, it's not that at all.
It's a piece of technology, and it depends on you how you want to use it. Hmm? It's a very far-fetched thought. Somebody or a group of people or a consortium of companies, they got together to turn the entire population of the world uncreative, and to rob you of your creativity they gave you AI and its products like ChatGPT. None of that. AI is anyway not creative. Then how can it rob you of your creativity? AI at best
But it stops our thinking.
it stops your
It makes our
no that simply
very
no,
much easier.
that simply means that your thinking was already mechanical in the first place.
I wonder if it's meaning that, well, AI needs references to be able to create something, and we do too. And, but I think we can step above that. Perhaps, I'm not sure, to create things that we have not experienced before. I'm not sure. That's an interesting thought, because when you grow up, you just grow up experiencing things. I grew up watching horror movies, watching different things, different movies, different shows. So everything that we know is kind of already built into us in a sense, and not pre-built in, but we've learned as we grew. So it's very difficult to know if we are, in a sense, creative. The way I look at it now, and I've been thinking about this, not as of late, but like, we're essentially just meat robots. Our brain is our storage drive for memories and stuff, and our CPU at the same time. It's kind of like the motherboard's right there, and then everything connects in, like your CPU, GPU, your memory, your RAM, your storage, your L1, L2, and L3 cache. But and because we never experimented in this way, because it's very cruel, which is just to feed a child, but leave it alone in terms of everything. No toys, no nothing, to see what it would grow up to do. I have a feeling it would not be creative at all, because it would have nothing to be creative about. It will understand to draw humans because it interacts with humans when it's fed. So without any other thing, it probably wouldn't be able to it wouldn't know how to draw a dog or anything with fur, generally speaking, because unless it interacts with something with fur. So its nightmares, its imagination is probably going to be limited to the human and human shape, because that's the only thing it's been exposed to. I think this is just my theory. I don't know if it's right or wrong. It's just my thinking of how we as humans work, if the scenario were to be true. So much like computers, where if you don't feed it any information, it doesn't know what to do. Much like a human baby, if you grow it up never feeding it any kind of information, it doesn't know what to do. So much like humans and robots, we are similar in that sense. This is just a biomechanical meat bag. and we feed it, obviously, and we go through different scenarios, and we have corrupt memory sometimes, Alzheimer's and all that. So I mean, we're very similar to machines, but I guess what makes us a bit different is consciousness. Outside of that, we are essentially meat bag machines. I think that's my theory. Let me know if I'm wrong. But yeah, again, this like much like machines, if they age, they rust, and it goes back into Earth, and you can grab it back from the Earth and rebuild it. We eat stuff from the Earth and we poop it back out into the Earth. Every 7 years, entire new body.
Therefore, another machine could supplant it. A machine can be better than another machine. A machine cannot be better than consciousness itself. So if you feel that AI is making your task easier, it simply means that the task that you were doing was anyway not creative.
So easy a machine can do it.
AI cannot create something original. Originality is an exclusive virtue of consciousness. So I'm asking you, if you ask ChatGPT something, can it choose not to answer? So that's all. But consciousness can choose to remain silent. And consciousness can know that silence is probably the best response in certain situations. AI will never know that.
Sir, is it? But AI also is created by us only, some group of people. So I'm asking that, is there any intention from them?
Their intentions would be to try to make a product that they can sell and make money out of because they are a business. That's their intention. I mean, outside of that, I don't know.
They've just brought a technology to you, and they'll probably commercialize it. And that's normal human activity that's been happening. When somebody made a car, he was not conspiring to rob you of your legs. And
Or run
could
you
have said,
over.
the car has come, or the automobile or the bike has come, so that we stop using our legs, and very soon we all will become lame. So there is no conspiracy. And even if there is a conspiracy, let's hypothetically accept that. Why do you have to fall to that conspiracy? I mean, you have to write a song, let's say, for your girlfriend. Why do you want to depend on ChatGPT for that?
Mm-hmm.
And that software can write you a song.
Yep.
But you'd be a very poor lover
Yes.
if you depend on machines to write you a song for your girlfriend.
Now you can use it to kind of inspire you or give you ideas, maybe, but it has to be mostly yours. I mean, to say, oh, if you say it's like, oh, you can't do that with machines, like, well, if you listen to a song can inspire you. Therefore, you took inspiration from a song, another song. Took inspiration. I mean, and this is the thing, it's the fact that there's a saying, and I think I believe it. Like, I believe to a lot of degrees, but there's almost nothing original in the world anymore. If you think of an idea, a story, a song, it's already been played, written, or shown, or something, There's almost nothing original in the world anymore because almost everything has been done.
Thank you.
So that guy doesn't. I mean, I don't know. Hopefully he's happy with that answer. I mean, it's really weird to go conspiracy theory though, and like someone's out to get you with Chat GPT and stuff. Like, what are they gonna do? Take your job? Hopefully, not in a bad way though. Like, obviously, take everyone's job. That we can all live in a utopian world. Well, not a utopian world. We'd probably have more problems because we don't have to work and we can think about a lot of things. So therefore, create more problems for ourselves because we're not busy doing something. So our minds are running rampant with conspiracy theories. and then we destroy ourselves because we have nothing better to do. This is why I hope Sadhguru, Swami Sarvapriyananda, Swami Tadamananda, Acharya Prashant, Swami Anubhavananda, all these swamis and gurus and teachers freaking teach enough people out there to have some common sense or at least some self-discipline in terms of their minds, even if they don't believe in the Atma Brahman stuff. Just at the very least not let their minds work against them. I mean, you kind of see it in developed areas, like where when they speak about the ego, it's kind of funny because I believe in Western society, I think they uphold the women very highly. Had a cough. I think they hold the women up very highly, and it's inflating the ego too much. And even in the red pill space also are inflating men's egos. That's the biggest issue. While I like the certain red pill things, the biggest problem is that this is all they talk about. And it's kind of the idea, but there are going to be certain people that are going to take that as in, I can do no wrong. All the women are doing wrong. And kind of where you have in some areas here where women are like, oh, all the men are problems. You know, it's all the men's fault because the patriarchy and etc. It's like, oh my gosh. And the reason why they can do this is because they have so much free time in their hand to start thinking about things. And both parties, by the way, don't get me wrong, there's some truth in both sides, but it's the fact that they go too far and they don't look at facts is the problem. Like he was talking about, I believe in the last video, about, you know how you have the bad nationalism and the good nationalism? The bad nationalism usually they go extreme, like very extreme. This is kind of the same way for both the red pill and certain feminism. They go too far and it just destroys whoever they're trying to help. It's really weird. Because we have so much freedom, so much free time, that we create problems for ourselves. That's the reason why when it makes me wonder about if society becomes where we don't have to work. Are we going to create more problems because we have significantly more? We have 8 more hours to think about stuff. Oh boy, let me know what you think about that one. When AI takes over, or robots take over the job, when we don't have to work anymore, we have 8 more hours to think about stuff and let our minds run rampant with ideas and thoughts, looking for someone to blame, looking for the other. Let me know what you think about that one. Anyways, that's my reaction to this one. If you like my content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up, thumbs down, down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.